So last night we went to wrestling and had a good time. And it's funny because I enjoy going to the house shows, but I don't watch it on TV. I can't. Um, I find the storylines are hard to follow, and not in terms of them being overly complicated. 99% of them, I've seen them before. Now, there was an old territory rule that you could repeat the same storylines, say, I think it was 5 years later. Might have been 10, I think it was 5, though. And it was okay because the audience wouldn't get it. Well, in this day and age, we get it. We've seen all these storylines before in some way, shape, or form. And they just keep doing stuff that it doesn't make sense for the character, or the storyline takes the wrong turn in terms of, wait, didn't they hate each other a week ago? The women's division's really bad for that. So I've got this here, and I'm just going to go through it and show where things are right or wrong in my eyes. So there's your authority figures. Notice there's two McMahons at the top. I get why they're there. But really, it should be Daniel Bryan and Kurt Angle that are in charge of the shows. And the rest of it, you could honestly do away with. You could do away with the rest of it. I get Shane being back in the company, and nobody is a spot monkey like Shane. He is, in terms of willing to risk his life for entertaining the fans, he is the top guy right now, and that includes the Hardy Boys. And Stephanie is well spoken. She's a very beautiful woman. I can understand she's also a powerful woman. It's good to have her on TV in this day and age of, however you want to put it, about being politically correct or gender friendly or however you want to put it. But her role as an authority figure is kind of played out. They did the authority thing for years, and I would really like to see her just not on TV for like 2 or 3 years. Unless it's for a fight with Ronda Rousey, which isn't going to happen. But, that's the only time that I could see wanting to see her in the ring. Here's where the issue starts. So there's Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. So those are your two main guys. Brock Lesnar, who is a legit beast, but doesn't wrestle very often. He's never at a house show because he doesn't do house shows. So you have a champion who's never at house shows. Fans cannot see him in person. And Roman is the guy that they continue to push. He's number one in this magazine, meaning that they still view him as the top guy, and yet fans just are sick of him. Last night they had him on the big screen over the ring, and fans booed a picture of him. He wasn't even there. And then here's another part of the problem. So you have Undertaker and Triple H, and Undertaker's awesome, and Triple H is amazing too. But this is part of what shows they're not elevating their current superstars to that level, to that almost godlike level that Triple H and Undertaker got to. And on the next page, you got Randy Orton and AJ Styles. Now, AJ is way over. And AJ is in the right spot, kind of. But while I like Jinder's title run, why isn't AJ Styles the champ again? Why aren't AJ Styles and Kevin Owens fighting and battling back and forth in what would be as close as you could get to almost a Rock Austin's type feud, in that The Rock and Steve Austin were two completely different people who, when they got in the ring, they were actually really good. Kevin Owens and AJ Styles have that going for them as well. You have a Canadian who can be really obnoxious and a redneck. You put those two together, and with the chemistry that they have in the ring and on the microphone, I think it's dynamite. I'm not sure why they're not doing it. And Randy Orton, at this point, I think Randy Orton being de-pushed makes the most sense. John Cena and Nikki Bella. I know they're the power couple of WWE. I know there are people who like Nikki. I'm not a huge fan of Nikki. And here's the thing. So, Cena's now pretty much done. Nikki, because of her neck, she's been pretty much done for over a year now. She really can't wrestle, and she really shouldn't. And I'm not a huge fan of Nikki Bella, but I don't want to see her end up paralyzed. And that's something that could happen with a fall in the wrong direction, wrong angle, because due to previous issues she's had with her neck, she's going to be more prone to that kind of thing, and it's not worth the risk, Nikki. Seth Rollins, absolutely top-notch guy, fantastic guy. I don't care if he's a face or a heel. I know there's lots of people who want to see him turn heel again. I don't. I don't like it when guys are turning face and heel every 2 weeks. I think it's ridiculous. Here's the Singh brothers with Jinder Mahal. And, of course, the Singh brothers weren't there last night, which was a disappointment for me, but, you know, it happens. Here's the... And then on the facing page, you've got Raw, which shows Sasha, Roman, Bayley, Braun, and Finn Balor as the Demon. I'm really hoping they don't end up with Finn Balor being the Demon all the time. But every promotional, everything I see, he's the Demon. Somebody backstage could be saying, you know, if he was the Demon all the time, he'd be much, much more over. SmackDown. You got New Day, AJ Styles, Charlotte, and Shinsuke. Curious by his absence is the champ, Jinder Mahal. Showing that Jinder's probably a long-reigning transitional champion. I don't think there's ever been such a thing. But I have a funny feeling that once he loses that belt, he's not going to get back to it again. Dean Ambrose and Braun Strowman. I cannot argue against either of these guys, but Dean Ambrose had a fantastic gimmick. He was way over with the crowd. He won the title from Seth. Everybody goes insane, and WWE couldn't crap on it fast enough. And he's never recovered. His career's never recovered. Now the Shield's back together. What a surprise. And I have a bad feeling the Shield's back together to get Roman over. Bray Wyatt, Kevin Owens. Here are the two guys who should be reigning champions. You'll notice their physiques are not quite what other WWE wrestlers are, and I have a bad feeling that's why they're not the champs. Bray Wyatt is such a fantastic speaker, the best I've seen since Jake Roberts, and his technical skill in the ring is good. Both of them move good for big men. And Kevin Owens is absolutely dynamite on Twitter. He's fantastic. In interviews, he's great. He's in character. He knows how to be in character and himself at the same time. And that's the mark of a great wrestler. That's what made The Rock and Stone Cold really big stars. The Hardy Boys. And there's Matt Hardy there. Not broken yet. But with Jeff Hardy on the shelf for the next however long, broken Matt Hardy needs to happen. Just all they have to do really is take Matt Hardy and put him in with Bray Wyatt. He doesn't have to be broken, but he can say and do a lot of the things he did in Impact without violating that copyright. Naomi, Alexa Bliss, and Becky Lynch. So Naomi gets her own page. My guess is because she was SmackDown Women's Champion when they did the book. Alexa Bliss and Becky Lynch. Becky's the girl that I think everybody genuinely loves her. And for whatever reason, she doesn't get the title. And if she gets it, she doesn't hold it for very long. Alexa Bliss is the best heel they've had in the women's division since Trish in her prime. Trish Stratus, off the charts in terms of being a heel and being able to make the crowd boo her. And Alexa Bliss is able to do that. Bayley, Sasha Banks, and Charlotte. So again, I'm guessing Charlotte was champ when they made the book up. She shows us being SmackDown on here, but I have a funny feeling she was champ when they made the book up. A book like this doesn't get put together overnight. Bayley and Sasha are the two wrestlers they've most buggered up on the main roster, not named Enzo. I'm stunned that these girls put on a 30-minute Iron Man match at an NXT event, main event, and it was a great match. Fantastic. And yet all I ever hear is, oh, Sasha's a poor wrestler. She botches a lot. Then something's wrong, because Sasha and Bayley had fantastic chemistry in NXT. And Bayley, who honestly should be selling merchandise like crazy to little kids, for whatever reason they won't push her. They won't make her look like a threat. It's like for some people, they get 2 weeks as champ and the WWE goes, we don't have any faith in you, and they pull it away. New Day. I know a lot of people say they're stale. I know a lot of people are tired of them. I don't agree with those people. Finn Balor gets his own page. Sheamus and Cesaro. get their page for themselves. I really like Finn Balor. I don't know that he'll ever get back to where he was before the injury when he was champ. And Sheamus and Cesaro, I'm not a Sheamus fan. I love Cesaro, and I'm not sure why the fans want to get behind Cesaro. I'm not sure why WWE won't give him a push. But there's another reason I'm doing this with this book. Sami Zayn, Kane, and Big Show. Well, Big Show, due to his hip issue after the match against Braun Strowman's probably done. The hip had been bothering him before the match with Braun Strowman, though. That was just a storyline way of writing him out for a while. Kane is done. He's in politics now. I don't think he wears the mask at city council meetings, but he'd be smart to do it because nobody will ask him any questions or argue with him. Sami Zayn, I saw him last night. He won as a heel, but he works as a heel kind of, but he's still really a nice guy, and you can tell, and I'm not sure that the fans are going to buy it for very long. It's one of those turns that the crowd's eventually going to say, we love you anyways. I did last night. And then Shinsuke gets his own page. Shinsuke is so entertaining in the ring. So much fun to watch. I really honestly think that Shinsuke will get a run with the title. Not sure when, but I think he will get a run with the title. Enzo, Big Cass, and The Miz. So this was done while Enzo and Big Cass were still together. And The Miz with Maurice. The Miz is ready. The Miz is ready to be champ. And I don't know if they'll give it to him, but he's ready to be the guy. They're trying to push Roman right, left, and center, but Miz has paid his dues. The fans like The Miz. We know The Miz can work. He seems to be a safer worker now than he was a few years ago. There were complaints about his safety on the dirt sheets. And, with Maurice, that's, great heater for him, and now he's got his Miztourage, which is fantastic. For Enzo and Big Cass, I feel bad for them. Cass gets hurt while he's getting a push, and Enzo, look, the guy may be a complete prick. Maybe he is, but some of the big stars from the 80s were complete pricks too. Sometimes to be that big superstar wrestler, you kind of have to be an ass. Because your personality has to be one of, basically, you have to be egotistical. Bless you. You kind of have to be egotistical. If you're like The Rock. I'm sure The Rock, great guy, Dwayne Johnson's a nice guy and all, but you kind of have to believe your own hype to be able to go out to the ring and do the promos he used to do. Dolph Ziggler and Samoa Joe. Battle of the guys who should have been champ. Dolph definitely should have been champ longer than he was. I know his contract's almost up. Samoa Joe really should be a champion. And here's a guy with a full page, Baron Corbin, who has been more successful on the main roster than he was in NXT. NXT, every feud he had, he lost. He lost every feud he had with anybody who was remotely a threat. And he's come up to the main roster, and I think it's because he's taller than almost everybody else. That's why he has the U.S. title. His wrestling has picked up. He's become a much better technical wrestler, but I'm still not a fan of Baron Corbin. And I'm saying that nicely, but I don't have any vested interest when he's in the ring. Nia Jax, Carmella, and then they got James Ellsworth. There's no point in him being in here other than he was in the picture with Carmella, and they went, yeah, all right, sure, we'll just throw him in there. And it's funny they have Carmella and Nia Jax, because Nia Jax is legit the girl that could beat the hell out of everybody if she got really angry. Nia Jax is the one that if she wrestled men and beat men, you could legitimately believe it. Carmella is this tiny little stick insect. She's so small. And I know she's got the Money in the Bank briefcase. I know there's a perception, at least there seems to be with the way WWE's booking her, that she'll make a good champion, and she could. But being that tiny and with some of the bumps that she takes, I don't know. I don't want to see her get hurt, but man, I don't know. The Usos, Apollo Crews, and Mojo Rawley. So Mojo, I not could talk. I can't stand Mojo. Apollo Crews, good guy, good wrestler. I think there's so many good wrestlers in WWE right now, he's lost in the shuffle. And the Usos are just awesome as heels. The Usos are fantastic right now. They are absolutely on top of their game. Then they got a bunch of pictures, and then they got Gallows and Anderson here. Gallows and Anderson have been languishing for a while. Now they've got them with Elias Sampson. That's not a good idea. At least I don't think so. But what else do you do with them? That's the problem. Luke Harper, Rusev, Kalisto, Goldust. Here's my number one issue right now with WWE. Rusev should be a main eventer. And was held off TV for a long time. When they brought him back, they didn't really have anything for him. I get concerned sometimes that they're going to release him. And there's no way in hell I should be concerned with that, because Rusev's fantastic. His Twitter feed is awesome, which is a big part of the thing, the whole social media thing that they talk about on every bloody Raw and SmackDown now. Luke Harper is legit badass. He wasn't at the show I watched last night, but he was at the one in Vancouver. And he's a big dude. And again, that impression that you give fans that you could legit win fights if you were in a fight, that's important. And yet having those high flyers and the smaller guys is good too. For Kalisto, he's got the Cruiserweight title right now. He's not going anywhere. The Cruiserweight title is just a waste. The whole 205 thing for me is a waste. The crowd's not into it. It's not. It just takes all of the high flying fun wrestlers and just sticks them all in one category. And it didn't work for WCW 20 years ago, and I don't think it works for WWE right now either. Some of the Cruiserweight matches in WCW were the greatest matches I ever saw, and yet they had them every week, and it got to the point where that wasn't really a reason to tune in anymore. And Goldust, probably the most underutilized talent they've ever had for his entire career. Titus O'Neil, Dash Wilder, Scott Dawson, The Revival, and Tyler Breeze and Fandango Breezango. Breezango, give them the titles. At the very least, get them into a really good feud with the Usos. Show that these guys are, they do the whole pretty boy thing, and they look like members of the Village People a lot of the time. But have them look like they're legit badasses. Tyler, in the matches that I've watched, he comes across as being the weakest of the bunch, and it's fun for spots during matches. But have him come out and have them, get beat around a bit by the Usos. Have the Usos manhandle them, and then they come right back out the next week, and the next week. And then, have them get into that kind of a feud. And the Revival are just simply insanely good. The Revival are the reincarnation of the careers of Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard. Absolutely. When I saw, I can't remember which one it was that did the slingshot suplex in NXT, I went, holy crap, I haven't seen a slingshot suplex. It's Tully Blanchard. And then the old Arn Anderson powerbomb, they used that too, and I was like, wow, they're actually literally doing the moves of Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson. Eric Rowan, R-Truth, and Elias Sampson. This is the land of the lost. Eric Rowan is just always being repackaged. R-Truth is the best example I can find of myself saying, if this guy wasn't black, would he have been champ? He had crowd heat that was crazy. When he was talking to Little Jimmy, and he was kind of crazy, and he was after Cena, and I remember seeing that gimmick and how over it was and how crazy popular he was, and there were chances of for and against him, and I remember thinking, now they're deep pushing him. Is it just because if he was white, would this be happening? And that does happen many, many times over. Back to the days of the Junkyard Dog. I'm that old. Okay, this page gets really, really busy. Sin Cara, Zack Ryder, Aiden English, Mark Henry, Ty Dillinger, and The Ascension. So The Ascension never win anything, so don't bother with them. Ty Dillinger, I think, has been positioned for a U.S. title contending position for a while, and I think he'll get dropped right back down. I don't agree with it, but I think he will. Mark Henry is likely retired. He may have one more match left in him, but he's likely retired. Aiden English, gets heat from the crowd like nobody else. I wouldn't be surprised if they give him a mini push out of that because the crowd really hates him. Sin Cara is just stuck. And Zack Ryder, I think, is stuck too. If Zack Ryder was going to get pushed, it would have been a long time ago. Mickie James, Natalya, Alicia Fox, and Dana Brooke. This is Alicia Fox. She's still employed by WWE. They refuse to push her. She switches from heel to face once a match, or face to heel, depending on how she comes out. Dana Brooke, they wanted to push her, but she wasn't very good in the ring, and now she's been dropped to, I think she's down with NXT, or maybe she's with Raw. It depends on which dirt sheet you read that week. Mickie James, they talk about her like she's an old lady. She's not that old. She's a lot younger than I am. And Natalya, who is simply the class of the women's division. She's fantastic. She had a gimmick where she farted. It was her gimmick, and she survived it. And she used to dance with Great Khali, and she survived that too. Jason Jordan, Chad Gable, Heath Slater, and Rhino. Are we starting to understand why WWE can't push everybody at once? Why there's guys at the top, guys at the bottom? Because I always hear people saying, oh, so-and-so doesn't get pushed. Well, yeah, because you can't push them all. Heath Slater's a good example of that. The crowd loves him. They do. And you know, he does his job, and he does it well. Jason Jordan, I'm not a fan of Jason Jordan. Between Gable and Jordan, I love Chad Gable. And then they push Jason Jordan, and I'm like, what? Why? How? Why? And if you're giving him a title for a storyline with Kurt Angle, that's just ridiculous. Titles shouldn't be given to guys for that reason. And I hope that's not the reason. Emma, Lana, Summer Rae, and Tamina. Yeah, Summer Rae's still employed by WWE. You may not know that because they don't use her, which is ridiculous because Summer Rae's actually a pretty good wrestler. Actually pretty good. Tamina, again, good wrestler. She'll never get pushed. If she was going to get pushed, it would happen a long time ago. Lana, she must be a really bad wrestler because she's the best looking woman in WWE according to many. Not necessarily according to me. There's others. But they just haven't pushed her. And Emma, what does it take for Emma to get a title run? Like, and I'm asking that seriously. Like, Emma has been a good soldier for a long time. She did the stupid dancing gimmick. Now she's got this heel gimmick. They tried to give her another stupid gimmick, and she was willing to do it. Thankfully, they decided not to give her the stupid gimmick and stayed with this. But I don't know what it takes. I really don't. Well, Bo Dallas, Curtis Axel, Mike and Maria Kanellis, the Colognes, Kurt Hawkins, and Darren Young. Oh boy, where do I start with this? Dallas and Axel are the Miz Taraz, meaning that eventually fans will cheer for them, meaning that the WWE will release them. Ask Damian Sandow. Mike Kanellis is just not... I think he got in 3 moves last night against Sami Zayn. And I like Mike Bennett. Yeah, I'm saying Mike Bennett. I like Mike Bennett. And I'm not sure what they're doing with him, but it's not working. The whole I love my wife. Just kill it. Just kill that whole storyline and just give him a real one. Or just have him come out as Mike Bennett. Kurt Hawkins isn't going anywhere, although he's a good heat magnet. Darren Young, I really don't know what they're doing with Darren Young still being there. The Colognes, they're enhancement talent right now, and I like the Colognes. I think they're fun. But we'll see. And then you get into 205. So here's the problem. Neville's on 205, meaning he's not getting shots at other titles. Neville is dynamite. Neville's an amazing talent. He do things in the ring nobody else can. And when he was NXT champion, he was fantastic. He's never been given that kind of appearance of being a threat on the main roster. You get into Jack Gallagher, TJP, Akira Tozawa. I mean, they're good talents. They're never going to get pushed. They're on 205. Mustafa Ali, Noam Dar, Rich Swann, who I think is fantastic, won't get pushed. Brian Kendrick, who has resurrected his career nicely. I think you could take the Brian Kendrick and you could stick him with, Enzo as a tag team. Oh man, that team would get heat. Tony Nese, Cedric Alexander, Grand Metalik, Grand Metalik should be having great matches against one of the other luchadors on the main roster. Just the 205 thing doesn't work for me. Dorado, never saw Dorado. Drew Gulak, Arya Davari. Nope. And then they get into the announcers. There you go. There's the roster. My hits, my misses, and that is one big roster. So when you complain about guys not getting pushed, the only ones that I would honestly say, oh yeah, he should be pushed more, is Owens and Bray. Bray should get a nice long run as champ, and Owens should get it too. And you can compare Bray to Jake Roberts. The thing with Jake Roberts is that at one point he was legit more popular than Hogan, so he had to turn. Same as Savage. If you're more popular than Hogan in WWF, you had to turn. And Bray, I think, could get that level of popularity. Absolutely. He is so well-spoken. He is so smart. And I think he could be a good guy, bad guy, doesn't matter. He could be neither. He could be the guy who just stirs the fight between everybody else and just stands back and watches the whole company burn. And it would be fun to watch him do it. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I know this video got longer than my normals, but hey, these things happen. Thanks for watching. Hit like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you again soon.